Hello all, I'm back with another video. I mentioned in a recent blog post that I was hoping to do this today because I've recently kind of had a shift in my coloring technique on how I'm approaching character faces that don't have a defined nose on the image. So I thought that that would be fun to share today. And I'm going to be using this little Holiday Anya #2 from the Greeting Farm to showcase it on. I have her just stamped on Copic X-Press It cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. But before I get to the actual coloring, I just kind of wanted to show what I'm talking about, kind of how I came about the idea, and hopefully give you a little idea of what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish with the coloring. And I'm going to be using this classic little strawberry shortcake doll as our model, and I'm going to take her hat off. So the whole idea came about for this. On these old dolls, the shape of the face kind of has, let's see if I can get that in there, this little indent right, above the nose there. So when you're looking at them straight on, that little indent gets a little bit of shadow across there. So the area underneath the eyes is seems a little bit lighter, and then you get the little bit of shadow, and then above the, around the brow, it's kind of lighter again, and then of course you get your forehead there. So I don't know if that's showing up with all the bright lights shining on it. But so it's just kind of creating a pattern of shadow across the middle of the face to give some highlights there and create the illusion of kind of the bridge of the nose indenting on the character without there actually being a nose drawn in there. So we'll get right to it then. I'm just going to be using my regular kind of go-to color combination for skin, the E000, 00, and 11. And I'm starting with my 000. I'm just going to lay in the color, and for this I'm going to have the light source coming, pretty directly straight on little Anya here. So I'm just going to lay pretty much, it's very similar to what I had been doing in the past, how I started, approached characters and laid the color down. It's just adding in one extra little step. Okay. So that's what I, normally, and then, I would have just built in and then colored in and left that whole area, the lightest area at the end. But for this, the purposes of this, to create that little bit of shadow for the bridge of the nose, I now am kind of laying in a little line of color, just, kind of from eye to eye, there. Okay, and I'm going to just kind of feather it up a bit. Okay, and that's the start of how I'm mapping out this color, and you can see now I've created my lighter area right above that, kind of around the brow, and right there where, like, say, the tip of the nose and the cheekbones we're imagining. So those two are lighter, and everything else is kind of set back in the face and is a little bit darker. So now I'm going to go to my E00, going right over top that, the 000, just not bringing it as far out, going underneath the bangs there where they're casting a shadow, and then on this side of her face as well, wrapping it around. You kind of notice that on the doll. Oh, there we go. If your face on, it gets darker down there. And again, hopefully you guys can see it with the light shining on there. But I know I keep talking about it, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of have a visual for this where you could see how the light is acting on a real item. Okay, so I'm going to do it again with the 00, but not as much. So I'm going a little bit less each time here too. Okay, so I got my little bit of line. I'm not going to worry about blending it yet. I'm going to get my darkest on there first, the 11. Again, smallest amount of the 11. Just defining the shadows there. Wrapping around the face. Okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of the 11, but I'm not going to pull it as far as the other two colors. It's kind of reserved for right across where I'm imagining that bridge of the nose to be. Okay, so now I'm going to start blending back out. So I take my 00, because I've worked up from my lightest to my darkest. Now I'm going to work back down, so I'm back to my medium tone, the 00. And now I'm going to feather that E11 up. And I'm also going to start pulling, because this is where I'm blending now. So everything I've laid down previously, I'm going to start blending that out. And from this direction, I like to kind of wrap around the face. So I'm going to pull this way. And then on this side, I'm going to pull here. Okay. And then I'm going to go to my lightest, which is the triple. I'm going to use that. I'm not going to go start all the way in the back, but I am going to start kind of in that medium tone and start blending out. And I'm going to blend right over top that shadow I've created across the middle of the face. And I'm just using this to blend everything now. Okay. Okay, so we got that started. Now I'm going to add in the blush for the cheeks. So I've got my R00. And I just lay that right under the eyes. I imagine those cheekbones right under the character's eyes. And I'm going to then add the R20. Okay. And because I was working fairly quickly, you can see it's kind of blended itself real nice. It wasn't too much of a chore, but I am going to go back in now. And I'm going to do one more layer of the E11 just to reassert my shadow here on this side and underneath the hairline there. I'm not going to do it again across the middle of the face, just on those heavier shadows there. And blend back down to the E00. Pull again, just darkening up her skin tone. I wanted her a little bit more tan than that initial pass. And then I'm going to use this to blend out the blush on her cheeks and up into her face there. Pull this way from this direction. Okay. And then the final pass is with that 000. And that's just blending again. Right over top of that one more time. It's just going to create a subtle little shadow there, just across her face. Now look at it, and if I'm happy with it, and if I got it kind of even, but I think I'm going to take my double for this one because I think I lost a little bit. So I'm just going to pull that, just feather it up a little bit. And then take the triple and just pull down to blend those two out. Okay. Let that dry. I guess I can go ahead and do her arms while that's drying so you guys can really see her, how her face turns out there, because her arms and legs are very quick on these little Anyas. So then the triple or 00. And again, I'm just kind of going opposite, away from that light source on this. Really quick and easy, underneath the hem of her skirt. And the 11 for my shadows back here, away from that forward-facing light source. Under the hem of her skirt. And there. I could go a little bit on the inside of her legs there. Now I'm just blending it all back out with the 00. This is where we're starting to smooth things out. Same down here on her legs. Okay. And finishing it off with our 000 on those lightest areas. Same on her arms. Okay. Okay, so now her face has gotten a chance to dry, and you can see how now I've created this nice little illusion of that indent on the bridge of her nose where it would be, so that, you know, the tip of her nose and we'll say the cheekbones are running across here, so they're a little bit closer to the light source. When the brow is coming out, it's a little bit closer to the light source. So in this area here, it's kind of curved away, and it's a nice, I think, I'm really enjoying it, and I think, you know, my style is evolving a little bit, and so I just wanted to share that as just a different approach to adding a little bit of detail to some of these faces on different character images that might not necessarily have a nose already drawn in for them. And okay, so maybe I'll come back with another video and we'll kind of finish off this little Anya. And at least show you, because I think I'm going to be doing a little bit of altering, so that might be fun for you guys to see too. So I'll stop this one here and I'll come back in another video in just a sec. Thanks for watching. Bye.